the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show, only on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hour 3 of the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show, each and every Saturday starting at 10 a.m., hosted by yours truly, Tim Murray. I'm live here at the Circus Sportsbook. The I has just been dotted at Ohio Stadium as Ohio State getting ready to take on Marshall. We'll keep you updated on all the noon games that are kicking off. Of course, still to come later on tonight, prime time, 7:30 Eastern, Oklahoma and Tennessee. As we heard last hour, an overwhelming amount of action coming in on the Tennessee Volunteers, but that number has, at some shops, trickled down to 6.5. We don't know the status of Cam Rising. I think the expectation is we think he will play, but we'll find out come game time. That was a report from Pete Thamel earlier today. And then a quarterback change for the Michigan Wolverines as they will be going to Alex Orji. Davis Warren has been benched. Alex Orji steps in for the Wolverines as they are a 4.5 point dog. Another need for the house, Michigan against USC. We'll get you some of the betting splits action over at VSiN.com as well. But I know you want bets, so let's get to some bets, and let's roll through mine. These were all given out earlier this week on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast. So some of these numbers have moved, so we'll just walk through some of these quickly. Would I still play them at the current number? Buffalo against Northern Illinois. I took 14.5 earlier this week. This number actually got steamed up today, came in on Buffalo. So down to 13, probably would stay off now. Maybe a smaller play on Buffalo at 13. Michigan USC under. We've seen this number move off of the key of 45 earlier this week. I wish I got it. I did not. It's been hanging out at 44. Still would look for a little bit of a play at 44 on Michigan USC under the number there. How about Navy? Love this situational spot for the midshipmen against Memphis. Double digits for me are needed. So with this game kicking off at 3:30, I would potentially look for an in-game play, an in-game angle here, assuming Memphis can win the toss and go down and score. My biggest worry about Navy in this particular spot is the athletes. Memphis does have some dudes out there. Seth Hennigan is an absolute stud at quarterback, but from a situational angle, the spot is screaming Navy. How about Oklahoma? Yep, I'm plugging my nose. I am going with the Oklahoma Sooners here as they are 6.5 or 7 point underdog. Got to get that 7 with this game. I know Chris Felica, the Bear, will get to his best bets here in just a moment. He is on the under in this game, so maybe a correlation. Oklahoma plus the 7 to the under as well. Talked about this game just at the end of last hour. About to kick off there, Tulane and UL Lafayette. Tulane is going to go off as a 1-point favorite, so was fortunate enough to get the good number there with this game kicking off momentarily down there in the Bayou, but brutal spot for the Tulane Green Wave. Last two plays, Clemson to make the ACC championship instead of playing them against the NC State Wolfpack, and then BYU plus the 7 against Kansas State. Was not thrilled to hear that 75% of the action there on BYU. We heard from Matt Humans earlier in the program. Let's run through his plays real quickly. Some common plays were both on BYU and Oklahoma. He likes Baylor tonight. This is down to a pick, so I would imagine he's still in favor of Baylor, not going through any key numbers, but some money coming in on the Baylor Bears. Dallas Hayden, if you hadn't heard, out for Colorado today. Their leading rusher. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter still playing, so don't worry about that from that standpoint. But Baylor, one of Matt's best plays. New Mexico, this one might be one where he would stay off at the current price, where New Mexico has actually been steamed today under the key of 14. So Fresno State, a team that's coming off a 48-0 win. New Mexico, not New Mexico State, optional at best when it comes to how they'd like to play defense. Right now, a 13.5 point underdog are the Lobos, a best bet for Matt earlier this week, north of 15. South Florida against Miami. This game, to me, very intriguing. 17s are still out there at a couple of shops, so make sure you get the 17, which, of course, is a key number. But Byron Brown is a very talented quarterback going up against, yes, Cam Ward, who's a stud. This is going to be an emotionally charged game for USF. The score not indicative of the how that game played out earlier this year. South Florida actually led going into the fourth quarter against Alabama 16-14, lost that game 42-16. So Matt taking South Florida there. A couple other plays for him. TCU on the money line against SMU in the old Iron Skillet game down in Dallas-Fort Worth. TCU, a bet for him. Devastating loss for TCU just a week ago against UCF. SMU very much downgraded. And then the Floyd of Rosedale, he's rocking with Iowa. All right, let's get to some of the bets from last night. As a reminder, every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, it is the Circa Friday Football Invitational. Some of the best handicappers in all the land join in to try to win the $25,000 pot. And also, you get all these best bets emailed to you if you're a VSiN Pro subscriber, vsin.com/subscribe. Currently in first place is Las Vegas handicapper Steve Fezzik. So let's take a look at some of his college plays today. And he is going under in the Virginia-Coastal Carolina game. I mentioned this one a little bit earlier. This is a best bet for another handicapper. This number has moved a little bit to 52.5. Another under for Steve Fezzik in the Arizona State-Texas Tech game. A little bit of movement here, not a ton, down to 59. Hey, you could bet anything on the board, including Utah State at Temple. This number approaching the key of 6.5 right now. One of the best bets for Steve Fezzik. Two others, Duke and Middle Tennessee under the number of 51. 51.5 are now out there if you want to play that. And then Ole Miss, he is believing that Ole Miss will put it on Georgia Southern. My only hesitation with this play, totally makes sense. Ole Miss is 3-0 ATS this year, pulverized everyone in their path. Clay Helton and Lane Kiffin have a relationship. And I do wonder if the Lane train is going to want to put up the gaudy numbers like he has each and every week so far. But a Steve Fezzik best bet. Scott Pritchard, currently in second place on the Friday Football Invitational. Let's look at a couple of his. He is going Duke, Middle Tennessee, over as his best set. So we've got a bit of Fezzik was on 51 over. I beg your pardon. So a common play here, Duke, Middle Tennessee State over 51. He's also going Michigan State. This is interesting to note here. Michigan State is at Boston College tonight. This is the annual red bandana game, and we have seen a ton of steam come against Boston College in this particular spot. So right now the market, believe it or not, down to 6.5. Earlier this week, it was as high as 7. Couple other best bets from Scott Pritchard. Ball State, Central Michigan, under 52. Georgia Southern, Ole Miss, over 68. And then Florida Atlantic, UConn is sitting at 45, and he went over the total of that one. So Scott Pritchard, as of week 3, in second place. Let's go to professional handicapper Chuck Edel. His best bet is Virginia, Coastal Carolina, another common play, under the total. It was 54, now sits at 52.5. Another common play between he and Steve Fezzik, Arizona State and Texas Tech, under the total, and he's also going to lay it with Texas Tech. So a double bet here for Chuck Edel on the Texas Tech-Arizona State game. Texas Tech, how about their performance last week as they 2 weeks ago went up to the Palouse and lost pretty convincingly to Washington State. They got their stud running back a week ago, and then they absolutely put it on North Texas last week, 66-21, as we saw Taj Brooks rush for 109 yards and score a touchdown. A couple other best bets for Chuck Edel. He is laying the lumber, so he's going against me. However, I do have north of 14. He's laying it with Northern Illinois. Common play, though. He likes Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, a game that has just gotten underway, and he likes the over tonight in Baylor, Colorado. All right, let's get to Pete Wilder. Currently third place as well, tied with Chuck Edel. A best bet on a game that just went underway. Kansas and West Virginia. He's going under the total here. He's going with Oklahoma State. Once again, we don't know much about Oklahoma State right now in the quarterback situation, but he said, I'm going to roll with Mike Gunday. So he's going to take Oklahoma State pick against Utah. These are Pete Wilder's selections. He is currently in third place in the Friday Football Invitational. How about USC is going to lay it, might lay the 4.5 against Michigan. You actually get a 4 on that game. Memphis and Navy under the total of 49. I think there's a correlation here, and I think we've actually seen some under money hit the market on this game today as this one went down to 47. So good number there for Pete on Memphis and Navy under. Another Virginia Coastal Carolina under. Boy, how about the fact that we've had Steve Fezzik, Scott Pritchard, and Steve Fezzik, Chuck Edel, and Pete Wilder all in the top 3 go with that under in Virginia Coastal Carolina coming up later on this afternoon. He's taking the points with Bowling Green as well. We discussed this one at Texas A&M. All right, lastly, let's hit the Bear. Chris Felica, his best bet is on the Tennessee-Oklahoma game, but it's not what you would think. It is actually on the under in Tennessee, Oklahoma. I think most people would anticipate this to be more of a higher scoring game. I would agree with the Bear here. The market still sits at 57.5, but I think Tennessee and Oklahoma have the two best. I think their best units are the defense in this matchup. So very curious to see this one. Going dumpster diving is the Bear, and I got to love the Bear for bets like this. Army against Rice. This game just underway. Army already into the end zone, so not an ideal start there, but he took the 7 with Rice. He's laying it with Virginia Tech. You can get 3 if you believe with the Bear, laying that lumber with the Hokies, and then he's laying it with Louisville. You can get a better number there, and he's laying it with LSU. I would say for the Bear, it's a bit of an unusual card. He's usually more of the take the points type of guy, but laying the lumber in a handful of games. All right, there you go. You can get the full list of those bets at VSiN.com/picks. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber. Oklahoma, Tennessee, the biggest game of the day. We head to the state of Oklahoma and chat with Ari Wasserman next, right here on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Monday on Follow the Money, a week left in the regular season in baseball. We recap a wild weekend, and how about a doubleheader Monday Night Football? Follow the Money weekdays 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
VSiN is thrilled to introduce a new VSiN.com tailor-made to the evolved needs of today's sports bettors. Our upgraded navigation streamlines your journey, allowing you to swiftly access articles, videos, and podcasts. Whether you're tuning in live or catching up on your favorite shows, everything is just a click away. VSiN.com guarantees a fluid and responsive experience across all devices, ensuring you stay connected wherever you are. We have enhanced tools such as our betting splits and expert picks, and introduce innovative features like parlay and odds calculators, all designed to make you a sharper bettor. Our How to Bet section is perfect for beginners, covering the fundamentals, while seasoned bettors can delve into our advanced betting strategies for the competitive edge you've been looking for. Sign up for free on VSiN.com or become a VSiN Pro subscriber, where you can unlock unlimited access to every tool, expert picks, and insight that make VSiN the sports betting network.
watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
Nobody knows football like VSiN. And right now, folks, you can get your first month of VSiN Pro for just $9.99. Sign up and you'll get instant access to our daily best bets with a leaderboard to see who you want to follow. 19 hours of live programming, proven betting systems, and those exclusive betting splits. Start a monthly subscription today. Get your first month for only $9.99 or bet smarter through the entire NFL season with our football special for just $175. You don't want to miss out on this limited time offer. Head on over to VSiN.com/subscribe. It is the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show. The noon window has begun, and we've got a couple of scores to hit on before we head to our progressive guest line. Clemson has found the end zone very quickly against NC State, so an early lead for the the Tigers, not the Wolfpack, as Cade Klubnik had a 55-yard touchdown run in that game to give them an early 7-0 lead. No score yet between Marshall and Ohio State. Indiana and Kirk Cignetti on the board as they lead 7-0. James Madison gets on the board first against North Carolina, leading that game 3-0 as well. And the Army Black Knights lead Rice 7-0. The big one today in the state of Oklahoma, actually there's two big ones in the state of Oklahoma, but the bigger one would be in Norman, Oklahoma, and a gentleman who is on the go right now to his hotel room is Ari Wasserman, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Ari, safe travels, hands on the wheel while we're talking here, but Oklahoma, Tennessee, man, this is going to be a great atmosphere. You're going to be there, and I've said this all week. Oklahoma really hasn't had this opportunity all that often because the Texas game is played at the Cotton Bowl. So just from an atmosphere standpoint, a build-up standpoint, what's your kind of vibe on Oklahoma and how it's going to be tonight there in Norman?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of storyline here. Of course, you've got two former five-star quarterbacks who are very early in their careers, and Nico and Jackson Arnold facing off. This is the first SEC home game that Oklahoma's had. And of course, you've got the return of Josh Heupel to a place that fired him in the past that he won a national championship for as a player. It's in terms of vibes, in terms of storylines, like this is certainly the game of the weekend, and certainly happy that both teams are undefeated and both are programs too that have a point to prove. On one hand, like Tennessee seems like they're on the verge of breaking out and potentially becoming a legitimate national championship contender, depending on how things go. And of course, Oklahoma's had some close calls here the last few weeks, and we're going to find out whether or not that was a symptom of something going to be, or if those were just bad games and they have a chance to kind of rewrite the discourse that we have on the SEC right now. So this game kicks off in about 5 or 6 hours, and I cannot wait to be there and get to Norman and, get to enjoy that atmosphere.
You know, it's interesting, Ari, because, we here at VSiN, we focus so much on the point spreads, obviously, and you look at the betting splits over at VSiN.com, and I don't think it should come as a big surprise, but, 74% of the tickets are on Tennessee. We just had Chuck Esposito on from a local shop here in Vegas, the Stations Casino Group, 81% of the tickets on Tennessee, but I'm curious your breakdown of this game. Tennessee has looked the part, but let's be honest, Kent State, NC State, that's a good win. And then Chattanooga, not necessarily world beaters, averaging 63 points per game are the Vols. How do you see this one playing out from a point spread standpoint where Oklahoma, for the first time since 1998, is a touchdown underdog at home?
Well, let me tell you this. My gut feeling in this game is that the Vols win very easily. I think that they're just like a much better football team. And the thing that scares me more than anything about this Oklahoma team is that we've got some questions about their offensive line. And like, they've got a young quarterback who's going to be a star, but is still young, facing off against a defensive line of Tennessee that just is going to have animals coming at them the entire game. So like, I do think that Oklahoma's got a pretty good defense, and it's not like Tennessee's just going to go out there and, hang 80 points on them or something. But I do wonder whether or not Oklahoma is going to be able to stay in the game long enough to keep this within a one-score game in the fourth quarter. Now, that said, being a gambler, like everybody listening, like my gut feeling the last 3 weeks has won for the 3 games that I went to. But like the action here is a public play, and that always scares me of like, what is it about this game that we're not seeing that makes this a 1-possession game or a potential Oklahoma win? Because on the surface, I like everything there is to like about Tennessee. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of weird stuff is going to happen to make Vegas a winner. Because I think I read somewhere on Twitter coming into the game that like the biggest 2 positions for Vegas are Michigan against USC and Oklahoma against Tennessee. And like, those are the 2 games that I feel like are the easiest bets on the board. So that means they're probably not, like, right. That means I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to happen in both of these games. I don't like when my favorite plays of the week are the ones that are the biggest liability for those Vegas casinos out there.
Yeah, we did hear from Chuck Esposito just a little while ago as we talked to Ari Wasserman on 3 Sports. Also check out Ari and Andy, the podcast. They do a live reaction show every Saturday night as well. But he said it's not as bad as the Tennessee situation, but the house will certainly be cheering for the Wolverines. Let's stick with that game. You seem to like USC. I've been very impressed. I know it's just 2 games, but the game here in Vegas and then the shutout of Utah State. USC defensively has looked the part. Alex Orji now steps in for Michigan, the guy that we thought it would be all along. He gets to start this afternoon. So right now, 4.5 is the point spread here for this game. Total of 44. Ari, what are you seeing and what are you expecting at the Big House today?
Tim, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but if you know this just off the top of your head, isn't most of the action publicly on USC, but the line is moving toward Michigan?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
So like, I don't like, that's scary to me. Like, I don't.
It makes
understand.
you think, Ari, right? It makes you put your hand on your chin and ponder.
Yeah, it's like there's so much of this gambling world is like feeling like ball, but so much of it too is just like, what does the math say? And I follow a gambling expert who's a pretty good friend of mine who I think is on your show, Tyler Shoemaker. He comes on VSiN a lot. And I was talking to him about this, and like he said that in this game, this was, I guess, radio plagiarism, right? I'm just telling you what he told me. But like he said that a lot of the preseason models are probably still favoring Michigan based on our preconceived notions of what they were supposed to be. And like, we're not fully taking into account how bad their offense actually is. Like, we don't know what Alex Orji is going to do. We don't know what the ceiling for Michigan's offense is with him at quarterback because he has not played much this year. But at the same time, it's like, is there a possibility that, Sharon Moore and his staff came up with like some offensive packages that, are going to feature him as a runner and they're going to move the football and keep this game close? That's absolutely on the table. Like, conventional wisdom shows you that, like, hey, USC is a fixed defensive outfit. Like, they are much better offensively. They've got a lot of really good players at the skill positions. Like, there's a lot to like about, USC in this football game. But, like, are we 100% sure that USC's defense is fixed? Are we 100% sure that when a team that wants to pound the ball does it, the defending national champions that has a really, really good running back duo, a solid offensive line every year, and a running quarterback, like, is USC's defense going to shut that down? Like, are we certain of that? Like, that to me, it's like, I feel much more confident in the Tennessee game than I do the USC game, but the Tennessee game is more lopsided than this one. So I'm kind of in a pretzel right now, if I'm being honest with
you. You're oozing confidence right now as you drive to your hotel in Oklahoma City and get ready to
really, like, every ounce of energy that I have, like, wants to hammer USC and wants to hammer Tennessee. But, like, I don't want to be on the public side of those games, do I?
The public has had their way, I'll say this, the last couple of weeks. That's why it has not been a fruitful couple of weeks here to start. So maybe the tides will turn.
It makes me feel worse, Tim. The longer you play, the more likely it is that you will lose. I don't know, man. It's good. I mean, those going to be like really good live spots too, where if Michigan gets up early or Tennessee gets up or goes down early, you might be able to get a better, more favorable number that, put you in a position where, Vegas wins and you win. Like, I usually in spots like this, I like to wait in the first quarter to see how it goes. And, frankly speaking, like, for me, like, I've always been a live person because especially in the NFL too, but like 9 times out of 10, when you're watching a game, you can wait 15 minutes into the game if you're on your computer and get a much better number than you got before the game. So if you feel really confident, like it's possible, like, Tennessee could be down 10-0 and you could get, Tennessee plus 120 to win. Like, like that, those are the spots that I really like to be in the most.
No doubt about it. Hey, Ari, appreciate you jumping on, man. Safe travels. Enjoy the game tonight.
Yep. Enjoy, getting to watch it from one of the most beautiful places in the world. I wish I had your life.
There he is, Ari Wasserman on 3 Sports. New gig for him. Check out his podcast, Ari and Andy, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, we bring it in-house. Our own Grace Remington. She and I. Looks like we're going to be going head-to-head. I'm on an island here with Boomer Sooner, but we'll break down all the biggest games, and we'll get you updated on what's going on across the college football landscape as well as we keep rolling along on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show.
VSiN's got you covered for the start of the season with our football special. For $175, you'll get access to everything VSiN has to offer. With VSiN Pro, you'll receive daily picks straight to your inbox, detailed analysis on every game, and exclusive data like our betting splits to help you become a sharper bettor. Get all of this for just $175 through the Super Bowl. Or try a monthly subscription and get your first 30 days for only $9.99. Don't miss out on this offer. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe.
Don't wait until fall to start betting the NFL. Get a jump start now with the VSiN NFL Betting Guide and get prepared for this NFL season like never before. The guide has in-depth breakdowns for all 32 teams, best bets from our VSiN experts, playoff predictions, award market previews, and more. The guide is out now, and the only way to get it is to be a VSiN Pro subscriber. Head to VSiN.com/pro to sign up and join the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
We keep it rolling here on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon for all of you on the East Coast. I'm live here in Las Vegas. I am Tim Murray. You can follow me on Twitter at @1TimMurray. Before we get to our next guest, Grace Remington, who is the co-host of the new morning show here on VSiN Morning Line. Let's get you quickly updated across the country as James Madison, the Dukes, they blocked a punt against UNC. They lead 11-7 as the Tar Heels have found the end zone. Clemson off to a 14-0 lead. Interesting to know with that game. Got as high as 20.5, closed around 17, so money came in on NC State today, but Clemson gotten off to a good start there against the old, always dangerous Wolf Pack. Louisiana, a bet of mine, catching 3. They are now up 7-0 on Tulane. Marshall with a early 7-6 lead on Ohio State. Your live line sitting at Ohio State minus 34.5. No score in a game that only family members should watch. Florida and Mississippi State, that game right now, Florida with the ball inside the 5-yard line. And Kurt, Google me Cignetti, and his Indiana Hoosiers are up 10-0 against the Charlotte 49ers. Live line at DraftKings minus 35.5. West Virginia up 7-0, and they are a 2.5-point favorite against Kansas. All right, let's head to our progressive guest line and welcome in the co-host of our new morning show here on the network, the VSiN Morning Line, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern with Michael Lombardi and Harrison Sanford. It is Grace Remington who joins us from a posh studio. Look at that thing. That thing is badass. Look at that. The skyline of Nashville. It is pretty sweet there. So let's jump right into Tennessee, Oklahoma. You and I are going to be on differing sides here. The public is loving the Vols. I get it. I totally understand it. You know, give me my clothespin. This is that type of game here, Grace. But walk us through why ultimately you're going to be siding with old Rocky Top tonight in Norman.
Well, I think first you have a Vols offense that can score on every possession. In fact, they've been scoring on 75% of them. And then you have an Oklahoma offense that has really struggled this year. Their O-line has just been a mess. And now they have to face one of the best defensive lines in the country against the Vols. The great thing the Vols have been doing is they're getting pressure at one of the highest rates in the country on opposing quarterbacks. And they're not even blitzing to do so. They rank 8th nationally in pressure to blitz ratio. So the Sooners defense can keep them in this game. The problem is they're going to be out there so much because I don't know if the Sooners offense can stay on the field to keep Nico off of it. Josh Heupel, obviously, we know the storylines here. He was unceremoniously fired by Bob Stoops when he was a coach there. And then when he was a quarterback there, he was almost passed over during his recruiting period. The late, great Mike Leach is actually the guy who vouched for him. And Brent Venables retold the story this week. He called Josh Heupel pasty. He was playing at a place called Snow College. I don't know if it actually snowed there a lot, so maybe that contributes to his appearance, but not the kind of thing you want to hear. Either way, we know what happened next. He went on to lead the Sooners to a national championship in the year 2000, but so a little bit of a motivation factor for him coming into this one. And then, of course, Josh Heupel is one of those coaches who is aware of the spread, and he plays to cover it. So I am laying it with Tennessee. If you don't feel comfortable with the full game spread, I think taking Tennessee to cover in the first quarter is also an option here. Tennessee minus 1.5. It's something that I played all last year, and it's 3-0 this year because of those Heupel offense fast starts. His teams have ranked top 10 in first quarter scoring in 5 of the past 6 years. The 2 years they led the nation, they were averaging 14 points. In the first quarter. So 2 different options for you there, but I really think this is the time where most people in the country finally learned that Tennessee is a top 4 team.
They've looked at so far, and we will see if the level of competition was so weak or if they're just that good. By the way, the team that they already pasted is getting pasted. NC State down 21-0 in the first quarter to Clemson. So a little bit of opposing opinions there, but that's the beauty of sports gambling. One of us will be right, one of us will be wrong. And I took the 7 with Oklahoma, and Grace there going to lay the 6.5 with Tennessee. USC and Michigan, the big house. We just talked to Ari Wasserman about this game, and he seemed to waver in his confidence, knowing that ultimately, the two biggest needs of the houses across the country are going to be Oklahoma and they're going to be Michigan, two home dogs. I have not bet the side in this game. I did take some under 44.5 earlier this week. Wish I got the best number at north of 45. But Grace, curious your thoughts on USC and Michigan. Right now, 4.5 out there in the market. 44 is the total.
So earlier in the week, on the VSiN Morning Line, I actually said by kickoff, this game will get to 4.5. So felt good waking up this morning, seeing the line where it is. And I think that's because Michigan is a little bit undervalued in the market after that Texas game. I said at the time, Texas is the best team in the country, and now everybody can see why, and the rankings reflect that. At the same time, I think USC is a little bit overvalued in the market because of that win against LSU. LSU kind of gave them some lucky breaks in that game, kept them in it with penalties. Miller Moss had a few tip passes that could have been intercepted. So seeing this line movement makes sense to me. The question is, can Michigan generate enough offense to stay in the game? I think they made the right call here, going with Alex Orji at quarterback, and it's going to look more like their identity from last year. They're going to lean heavily on the run game. They should be able to control the clock. They're going to need to be able to control the clock to keep USC off the field. And Alex Orji, we've probably heard this stat bounced around throughout the week. He has 7 total career passes. And when he was recruited, I know it's in 3 years, obviously he was a backup, but still 7 pass attempts in 3 years. And this is something the coaching staff knew during his recruiting process, because he only recruited 50% or only completed 50% of his passes as a high school player. But Michigan has won a game like this before. Last year against Penn State, they ran 46 running plays to 8 passing plays. Penn State is a little bit of a different team, right? They didn't really have a functional offense last year. But I do think, that's a way that Michigan stays in this one. The thing is, their secondary has been having some communication problems. They do have one NFL player in that Michigan secondary, but the secondary has not looked good this year. So USC, obviously, we know that offense can march the field. And then once they get into the red zone, that's where this great Michigan defense has problems. We saw it against Texas. Texas got into the red zone 4 times. They scored all 4 times. 3 of those were touchdowns. And then they also scored a touchdown from the 21-yard line. So Michigan's defense will have to be better in the red zone. And I think USC needs to play a clean game. They've done that so far this year, cutting their penalty yards in half year over year. Miller Moss doesn't have any turnovers. So I just realized I didn't even give you the play. I just went on this long spiel. My play for this game is USC. The USC team total over 24.5. I gave that out earlier in the week, and I actually saw today at FanDuel, it's now at 23.5. So you can get a little bit of a better number there. But I do think this will be more of a competitive game than people think. USC needs to blow out Michigan in this one, because they have a tough schedule down the road, and blowing out the reigning national champ will give them that much more credit. So just ride them with the team total here.
USC, Michigan, 3:30. That'll be a fun one there at the Big House. What do we get from Alex Orji? 3 for 6, 15 yards so far this year, and we'll keep an eye on the status of Colston Loveland. Grace Remington joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Catch her, Michael Lombardi, Harrison Sanford, every morning, or every weekday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern on our new morning show, the VSiN Morning Line. All right, let's get a little in the weeds here. This is a game that you and I are both waiting to see if we get a number. Toledo went down to Stark Vegas and silenced the Cowbells last week and smoked Mississippi State 41-17. I'm waiting for this 3 to pop. I hope we get there. I like Western Kentucky. What are you expecting to see? Is this a letdown spot for the Rockets heading on the road this evening?
I think it could be. I saw this game earlier in the week. I knew it would be a coin flip game, and so I was waiting. Whichever side hits 3 first, that's the underdog I'm going to back. Right now it's 2.5. It briefly hit Western Kentucky +3 earlier in the week. And it was one of those things, Tim, right as I was about to hit send on my wager, it switched on me. So I was just seconds late to it. I hate when that happens.
The worst.
But, right. WKU their defensive stats are a little bit skewed because they played Alabama in week 1, but we know they have the offense to trade punches with anyone who's on a similar talent level. And then, like you mentioned, Toledo could get caught looking ahead to Miami, Ohio here, because that game is important to conference play, and beating that, winning the MAC, that's what's going to get them into the 12-team playoff if that's one of their aspirations this year. And they're going to be looking for revenge after losing to the Red Hawks in the MAC title game last year. By the way, shout out to my alma mater. I picked them as an underdog in that game, and then they won the whole thing. Always love when I can get a Red Hawks reference in there. So if WKU gets to +3 here, that's going to be the play.
You going to take the Red Hawks today?
Geez. I don't know about today. You know what? There's actually a lot of former Notre Dame coaches on that staff, so a little bit of familiarity. I don't know. After seeing the fight Notre Dame had last week, I don't know about that. I'll be rooting for him, though.
Grace, great stuff. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.
There she is, Grace Remington. Catch her every weekday morning here on VSiN with the VSiN Morning Line. A little showdown between me and her. We'll wrap things up next here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan, with a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
Looking for the ultimate sports betting podcasts? VSiN has got you covered. With a wide range of podcasts covering every major sport, we're here to help you make smarter bets every season. The Baseball Betting Show with Greg Peterson gives you daily insights into finding value on each day's MLB card. And check out Long Shots, where we deep dive into the world of golf betting, providing you with expert insights to help you bet every tournament. Find all of these podcasts and more at VSiN.com/podcasts or your favorite podcast platform.
watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
Wrapping things up here on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show each and every Saturday. Join me, Tim Murray, starting at 10 a.m. As always, become a VSiN Pro subscriber if you want all of those picks that are given out on Friday night on the Friday Football Invitational emailed to you on Friday. We ran through some of those best bets here earlier on in the hour. Thanks to Grace Remington for jumping on the program. She and I going head-to-head. She's on the same side as Mike Sanford as well. So it's going to be a fascinating one. Can't wait to watch it. Tennessee, Oklahoma, and hopefully I won't have massive egg on my face. I want to get to some updates here real quickly. And Clemson, if you recall, week 1, they played Georgia. Didn't go all that well. They lost 34-3, and they were shut out in that opening half. Since then, ladies and gentlemen, they have eviscerated their 2 opponents. Last week, they were up 56-13 at halftime on Appalachian State. Actually, that was 2 weeks ago. Right now, they lead NC State 28-0. Phil Maffa, 4 carries, 87 yards, a touchdown. Cade Klubnik had a 55-yard touchdown run, and he's already thrown for 2 touchdowns. They have outscored their last 2 opponents 63-0 in the first quarter. Wow. We told you the market was coming in a little bit on NC State. Clemson putting it on the Wolfpack there. They weren't afraid of the old frightening Wolfpack. Go Pack. Yeah, not the case. Clemson is dominating NC State, and my best bet for Clemson was for them to reach the ACC championship. Keep playing like this. I feel decent about that bet. 7-7 is the score at the Big House. Marshall came in as a 40-point underdog, and that game is tied up at 7 apiece. A game that I have a best bet on. I believe Tulane just got into the end zone to tie that game up. It is 7-7, yes, indeed. Tulane at Louisiana. I took Louisiana plus the 3. West Virginia up 7-0 on Kansas. Cincinnati leading Houston 14-0 earlier today. We saw a little bit of money hit the market on Cincinnati, bumping that game out to 4, and the Bearcats out to a strong lead there as they lead 14-0 in that one. Just taking a look at some of the live lines that are out there. Kirk Cignetti, I mentioned this game on the letdown spots, didn't play it, but Indiana only up 10-7 right now on the Fighting Biff Pogies. The line really hasn't moved all that much, sitting at 27.5 right now from an in-game standpoint. How about James Madison, North Carolina? You want points, you got it. James Madison closed around a 10.5, 11-point dog at UNC, and it is 18-14 in that one right now. So a barn burner going on in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, with James Madison already scoring a touchdown via a blocked punt, and they lead that game 18-14. That one in the first quarter. They have the ball back due the James Madison Duke. So not a loaded up noon slate, but a handful of games to note, and Clemson maybe the most notable, being up 28-0 right now. We'll see if Marshall can hang around with Ohio State. It's one of those things where you get Ohio State might have been lulled to sleep, and then they'll put it on. But right now, that number, open 40, down to 30.5. Florida up 7, Florida tied with Mississippi State 7-7. I don't know if this is true. We're trying to keep our eyes on as many things as possible, but it was reported on the broadcast that apparently DJ Lagway is going to play the 3rd, 6th, and 9th series of the game today. I don't know what in the world Sunbelt Billy is doing outside of, maybe trying to be fired. So that one, an interesting one, needless to say. All right, we got the big one tonight. Oklahoma taking on Tennessee. And Bob Stoops, 10 years ago, had this to say about Josh Heupel, his then offensive coordinator, as who would have known it 10 years later, Heupel would be returning as the head coach of Tennessee.
Josh Heupel and Jay Norvell will not be returning as members of the coaching staff here next year. By no means does this mean these guys are it's their responsibility in the way the season went. By no means are they scapegoats. The bottom line is I feel moving forward we need to go in a different direction. But again, You know, these guys have worked hard here. They're great people. They're great family men, great character guys, and work hard.
All right, there you go. Bob Stoops from 10 years ago. I'll be honest. You know, this is going to be a big storyline tonight, as it should be. Josh Heupel also led Oklahoma to the national championship, and great anecdote there from Grace Remington in the last segment mentioning that it was Brent Venables who did not actually want Josh Heupel. They wanted Achilles Smith, the eventual Oregon quarterback and Heisman finalist there. But it worked out well for Josh Heupel, and it was kind of weird that Brent Venables went down that road. He was being truthful, I guess. But I don't know how much, if anything, that matters this afternoon, or this evening, I should say. We heard from Chuck Esposito earlier on in the show from Stations Casino. Our VSiN betting splits tell you the same thing. Books are going to be massive Oklahoma fans tonight. And it's interesting to note that this number has dipped down a little bit, down to 6.5. And look, this is not a situation that's going to be a fun spot to be backing the Oklahoma Sooners, but I do wonder, is this a bit of an overreaction? How good is Tennessee? Now, Oklahoma has their concerns as well. They did not look great the last 2 weeks. They beat Tulane last week, got a late cover, really struggled against a Houston team who opened the year with a loss to UNLV and also is losing right now 14-0 to Cincinnati. But I do put some stock in the fact that this is Nico Iamaleava's first ever career true road start. Played in a bowl game last year. Earlier this year, he played NC State in a neutral site game. And I'm not a big proponent of the old transitive property, but it is worth noting that Tennessee's best win to date was a dismantling of NC State, who is currently getting absolutely ripped limb from limb right now by Clemson, trailing 28-0. So I'm going to hold my nose, put that nose plug on. I'm going to take the Boomer Sooner here in this spot tonight. Can't wait to watch this game, though. It should be a blast. And right now the market's sitting at 6.5. All right, 3:30 Eastern, we get Alex Orji making his first start of the year for Michigan. He takes over for Davis Warren. And Michigan right now around a 4.5 point underdog in this particular spot. You just heard Grace's best bet. She's going team total over on USC. Maybe we could thread the needle here, because I did take a little bit on the under in this game at 44.5. It's down to 44. I do think this is maybe a bit of an overreaction too, but I said the same thing 2 weeks ago regarding the 7.5 point spread for Michigan at home against Texas. And how did that play out? It was a Texas easy victory. I think USC is much improved. I don't think there's any denying that. DeAnton Lynn has come in and they look like a, actual legitimate defense. Is crazy when you get rid of Alex Grinch and you bring in a legit defensive coordinator. What could potentially happen there for USC? But USC looked the part against LSU. What can we make of their game against Utah State? TBD. Bye week, and now they come to Michigan. Wink Martindale, the new defensive coordinator, you got to show it to me, man. I know that you're this blitzing guru from the NFL. I have not been all that impressed by Michigan's defense, especially against Texas. So very fascinated to see that chess match today. Lincoln Riley against Wink Martindale. But for me, I think if Sharon Moore wants to win this game, and Grace alluded to the game that they won at Penn State where they just handed the ball off, 30-plus times, and then Sharon Moore broke down crying because of the victory for the late, great Jim Harbaugh, because, he's my brother. I love him. But for Michigan, I would lean that way for them plus the points, but I'm going to take the under here. The last one we should hit on, Oklahoma State and Utah. Pete Thamel had the report earlier today. We don't know. We don't know if Cam Rising is going to play, and if he plays, will he be 100%? Oklahoma State, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the Bear Nugget, the Chris Felica Bear Nugget, over the last 10 years, Mike Gundy, in these particular spots, 17-6 in games where the spread is within +3 or -3, and in 10 home games, Oklahoma State is 8-2, winning each of the last 6, 3 coming as an underdog. Right now, the market doesn't really know what to do with this game, and bettors, I don't think, know really what to do either. Oklahoma State at Circa sits as a pick. Westgate Superbook sits -1, so I would side with the Pokes here in this particular spot, but not an official play for me. All right, Live Bet Saturday is coming up next, as they will keep you updated for all of the games going on. So stay tuned for that. Then stick around for Ready, Set, Bet with Matt Brown and Mike Somich. That's coming up at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight. That'll be followed by the football contest show starting at 9 o'clock. I'm Tim Murray. Thanks to Bill Wagner. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes who's been working their butt off this morning to hopefully put on the best show possible. Let's have some winners. Man, really wish I had played Clemson. Looks like they might be an easy winner today. Much more with Live Bet Saturday, getting you ready for a college football Saturday right here on VSiN.
Don't wait until fall to start betting the NFL. Get a jump start now with the VSiN NFL